guys, today we're going to be talking about this amazing plant, aloe vera. We're going to be talking about its uses, we're going to be talking about how to identify the correct species, and we're going to be talking about how to grow it. Completely neglected, but look at it, it's absolutely thriving. And so I want to explain to you the best way to look after these plants. Oh, goodness me. Woo. So aloe vera is an amazing plant and it has so many uses. But first of all, we need to understand what species we have, because not all aloes are equal. There are actually over 400 species in the aloe genus, and so it's important to know how to identify the right one. So this is aloe vera, and it's the name of the species otherwise known as barbadensis miller, or the plant that is most commonly used in supplements and other products. There are also some other aloe species that are harvested commercially for products, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be focusing on this species, the aloe vera or barbadensis miller. So firstly, let's talk about how to identify it. The identification of this species is actually quite easy. The first thing you want to look at is the color of the leaves. So these leaves have got a very grayish green color to them, as opposed to sort of the grass green that you see on a lot of tropical plants. So your first marker is looking for gray green leaves. You'll also see that the leaves actually grow very tall and upright, as opposed to being splayed out. So that's the second way that you can identify this species, is that the direction of the leaves is quite vertical. And then thirdly, as the leaf grows to a mature size, you'll notice that it starts to become quite fleshy, and if you just squeeze it down at the base, you'll feel actually quite a lot of gel inside. The other thing that you can notice if you look down from the top is there is a very obvious rosette formation to the way that the leaves grow up together. But probably the easiest way to identify this species of aloe is when it goes into flower. And you will see these long stalks that come out from the aloe with a bright yellow flower on top of it, as opposed to other species that have an orange flowering bud. So for growing aloe vera, the best setup is to really think about the environment that aloe grows in naturally. And that climate is usually hot, humid, and there's usually quite a sandy environment around. So you want to replicate that for growing aloe as much as possible. They love loamy soil, it has to be well draining, and they really thrive in hot temperatures. If you have a hot summer but a cold winter like we do in Missouri, then aloe vera is going to love being outdoors in the summer, but for the winter it's going to need to be brought inside. So that's why it's best grown in a pot. Where I'm filming from now in the UK, the outdoor temperatures are rarely warm enough for aloe vera. So these ones are actually grown in this indoor atrium, sort of a greenhouse style room, and they grow here happily year round. But if you're living somewhere like Florida or Southern Europe or the United Arab Emirates, definitely plant your aloe in the ground and watch it thrive. So with growing aloe vera in pots, you are going to need to keep repotting as the plant grows, because they multiply and they're going to require more space. And I'm going to show you how to pot one up and divide the young plants in a minute. But once you have given it enough space, really all you need to do is leave it alone. And really, these plants, as I said earlier, do thrive on neglect. most people who struggle to grow aloe vera, or who will comment that they like always kill their aloe plant, usually do so as a result of overwatering. So to give you an idea, you only want to water your aloe vera about every 3 weeks, and that's in the summertime, and you want to water it even less than that in the winter. Allowing your aloe plant to sit in water or watering it too often is going to cause root rot to set in. So if you notice yellowing leaves on your aloe, it's probably trying to tell you that it's had too much water. So now I think what we need to do is get this aloe vera plant out of its constraints and divide up the new plants and put them into new plant pots so it can be happy again. Okay, well, it stopped raining, so I'm going to try this outside because I think it's going to be pretty messy and it's too heavy really to do it on a table. I counted up and there's actually about 5 aloe plants in here, so we're going to separate them all out. So you can actually see this aloe has started to become root bound, and it's not too bad because it's not severely pot bound. But if it was left much longer, it would get that way. So it's going to be a great time to separate these plants out. So this aloe was watered yesterday, so the soil is nice and moist. That is going to help with any transplant shock. You don't want the soil so dry that it's falling apart, and you don't want it too wet. You want the soil to sort of be able to clump together a little bit. So usually 24 hours before you're going to transplant any plant is a good time to give them a good drink. I'm actually going to start working away at the bottom and just try and tease some of this root ball apart and work my way up and see if I can loosen one of the plants at the side. They're really quite intertwined. So I'm just sort of digging around this plant, trying to loosen up his root ball without snapping too much. Of course, there's always going to be some damage caused. All right, well, he's really wedged in, so I'm going to move around, and there's another plant here, and see maybe if I can loosen a couple at a time, it'll cause them to just fall apart. Oh, look. I've got a tiny little baby pup here as well. Look, that is a tiny baby aloe pup. He can go in a pot of his own. Okay, so I've got one coming away here. There we go. Now, there's probably been like quite a lot of roots snapped off, but what I have got is the main trunk of this taproot. So as you can see, he's not been doing well because his leaves are floppy and he's obviously not getting the water that he wants, but he is trying to grow. He's got new leaf developing here. So I'm going to get him in a pot of his own. He probably will go into shock, but that's normal when transplanting most plants. We just need to give them the best conditions, which will be some good quality compost. Oh, that leaf's just fallen off there. Since we lost a leaf, I thought we'd take a quick look at harvesting aloe vera. Removing the leaves with a sharp knife will reveal that wonderful aloe gel that is famous for treating sunburn, but what is little less known is how much more this plant actually does. The biggest scientific discovery about aloe vera has been the isolation of a compound called ace-mannan, which exists in the gel and which in laboratory analysis has been shown to have very positive effects on the immune system. The gel is also loaded with vitamins, antioxidants, essential minerals, all of which are health benefits of consuming the gel. Now, if you're planning on consuming aloe gel, I recommend you do your own research and consult with your own healthcare provider. However, I wanted to show you how I use it because I came across a number of videos with conflicting information. The first thing you need to know is that aloe contains a chemical called aloin, which is found in the leaf veins directly below the skin. Aloin is actually harvested commercially and used by pharmaceutical companies to make laxatives, which is exactly why you want to know how to discard of this chemical during the process. What I personally do, as you can see, is I skin the leaf quite deeply to ensure that all the latex residue sandwiched between the inside of the skin and the outside of the gel has been removed with the leaf. However, other people say that they prefer to drain the leaf or soak the leaf in water first. I personally don't soak or wash the gel because of the way that I cut the skin. However, you may prefer to add that extra step, and that is totally fine. After removing the skin, I first ensure that I get the benefit of the spare gel on my skin, and then I slice and dice the inner leaf fillet into ice cube sized chunks, which I then load into a tray and keep in the freezer. From here you can use the cubes in smoothies or cold drinks. Fresh aloe does not have any bad smell or taste and is pretty bland. Freezing does not denature the active ingredients, so you can rest assured that your aloe will be just as good for you straight from your freezer as the same day that you harvested the leaf. So for the main part of this aloe plant, I'm actually going to leave it. There's probably 2 or 3 growing together. But I've already separated out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to put this one that's growing together in a bigger pot and just allow it some more space and allow it to continue to grow like that. There's another tiny one there. So I'm using some peat-free compost here to fill up the pot for the new plant. And the reason for that is that peat tends to hold moisture in the soil, which is not what we want for the aloe plant, which prefers to have dry feet. So I'm going to reuse this pot that the huge aloe was in, and I'm going to replant one of these medium-sized aloes in there and make sure that the roots have got plenty of space. Just settle them down there. Now, I'm going to remove these dead leaves at the bottom. What you'll probably find when you replot aloes is that they will fall over because they've been growing together and they sort of hold each other up. So I'm going to give them a good press down and then actually put some rocks around. I've got a little stake here actually. Where did I put it? Just something for him to lean against. Adding pebbles or small rocks around the base of your aloe plant will actually have a twofold purpose. It in winter will actually hold heat and keep the soil warm, and in summer will protect from scorching effects of the sun. So there we have it, multiple aloe plants repotted and given lots more space to keep growing. I hope you have enjoyed watching the video. I'm going to get these back in the atrium, and drop me a comment if you have any questions.